Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Paraparamhamsa Parvedika Acharya Ashtottara Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Gopi Givi Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Nam Ki Jai. Shima Purnava Dvitam Ki Jai. Gangama Yamuna Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Permanente Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the Sima devotees. All glories to the Sima devotees. All glories to the Sima devotees. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 12th chapter, the killing of the demon Aghasura. 12th verse. So we'll read the Sanskrit in English. Yat Pada Pangsur Bahujanma Krichato Dhritatmabhir Yogibhir Api Alabhyaha Sa Eva Yadrik Vishaya Svayam Stitaha Kim Vanyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam Yat Pada Pangsu Bahujanma Krichato Dhritatmabhir Yogibhi Apyalabhyaha Sa eva yadrik Vishaya Svayam Stitaha Kim Varnyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam Yat Pada Pangsur Bahujanma Krichato Dhritatmabhir Yogibhir Apyalabhyaha Sa eva yadrik Vishaya Svayam Stita Kim Varnyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam Yat Pada Pangsur Bahujanma Krichato Dhritatmabhir Yogibhir Apyalabhyaha Sa eva yadrik Vishaya Svayam Stita Kim Varnyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam
Yat Pada Pangsur Bahujanma Krichato
Pada Pangsur Bahujanma Krichato
Dhritatmabhir Yogibhir Apyalabhyaha Saiva Yadrik Vishaya Swayam Stita Kim Varnyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam
Kim Varnyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam
Yat Pada Pangsur Bahujanma Krichato
Yat Pada Pangsur Bahujanma Krichato
Dhritatmabhir Yogibhir Apyalabhya
Dhritatmabhir Yogibhir Apyalabhyaha
Sa eva yadrik Vishaya Svayam Stita
Sa eva yadrik Vishaya Svayam Stita
Kim Varnyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam
Kim Varnyate Dishtam Ato Vrajhaukasam
Yat pada pangsur bahu janma krichanto.
Padapangsu Bahujanma Krichato
Dritatma bir yogi bir apyalabhyaha.
Dhritatma Yogi Bi Apyalabhyaha
Saeva yadrik vishaya swayang shtitaha.
Saiva Yadrik Vishaya Swayam Stita
King varnyate dishtamato rajakasam.
King Varnyate Drishtam Mato Vrajavakasam
Yadpadapam sur bahujanma krikshrato
Yatpadapangsu Jahujanma Krichato
Dhritatma viryogi virapyalabhyaha
Dhritatma Yogi Bi Apyalabhyaha
Saeva yadrig vishaya swayam stitaha
Saiva Yadrik Vishaya Swayam Stita
Kim varnyate dishtamato vrajokasam
Kim Varnyate Dishtam Mato Vrajavakasam
Yat pada pangsur bahu janma krichanto. Dritatma bir yogi bir apyalambhaya. Saeva yadrik vishaya swayam stita.
Bhagavad Gita,
Vishaya Swayam Stita
Kim varnyate dishnamato vrajakasam.
Yat pada pangsur bahujanma krichreto Dhritatma bir yogi birapya labhyaha Sa eva yadrig vishaya svayang stita King varnyate dishtamato vrajokasam
Yat pada pamsur bahujanma kritrato. Dritatma bir yogi bir apyalabhyaha. Saeva yadrig vishaya swayam stita. Kim varnyate dishtamato vrajokasam. Yat padapamsu bahujanma krichanto.
Padapangsu Bhojan
Dhritatma vir yogi vir apyalabhyaha. Saeva yadrik vishaya swayam stita. King varnyate dishtamato vrajokasam.
Yat
Whose
whose Padapangsuhu
Padapangsu
dust of the lotus feet
dust of the lotus feet
Bahujanma
Bahujanma
in many births
births
Kritrataha
Krishrantaha
from undergoing severe austerities and penances
from undergoing severe austerities and penances
as a way of practicing yoga, meditation, etc.
as a way of practicing yoga, meditation, etc.
Dritta Atma Bihi
Drita Atma Bihi
by persons able to control the mind.
by persons able to control the mind.
Yogi Bihi
Yogi Bihi
by such yogis,
by such yogis.
Jnani yogis, Raja yogis, Dhyana yogis, etc.
Jnana yogis, Raja yogis, etc.
Api,
Api.
indeed, alabhyaha
Alabhyaha
cannot be achieved.
cannot be achieved.
Saha,
Saha,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Supreme Personality of God.
Eva,
eva.
Indeed. Yat drik vishayaha
Yadit Vishaya.
has become the object of direct vision, face
Become
to
the
face.
object of direct vision, face to face.
Svayam,
Swayam,
personally.
personally.
Stitataha,
Stitaha,
present in front of them.
the present in front of them.
Kim,
Kim,
what?
what?
Varnyate,
Varnyate,
can be described.
can be described.
Dishtam,
Dishtam,
about the fortune.
about the fortune.
Ataha,
Taha,
therefore.
therefore.
Vraja o kasam,
Raja Ogasam,
of the inhabitants of Raja Bhumi,
of the inhabitants of Brajabhumi.
Vrindavana.
No.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births by practicing yama, niyama, asana, and pranayama, none of which are easily performed. Yet, in due course of time, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can we describe about the great fortune of the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, Vrindavan, with whom the Personality of Godhead personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face? Purport. We can simply imagine the great fortune of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. It is impossible to describe how, after many, many births of pious activities, when they have become so fortunate. They have become so fortunate. So. Om Agyana Tamirandasya Gyanan Janar Shalake Chakshumalitam Yena Tasmai Shugrave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Nina Bhutale Swayang Rupa Kadamayang Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehang Shigraho Shiyutapadakamam Shigrum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Laita Shri Vishakavitamscha He Krishna Paruna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvayevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Yakipatarham Bande Shigram Dinataranam Yat Pada Pangsu Bahujanma Krichato Dhritatma Bhi Yogi Bhi Apyalabhyaha Sa Eva Yadrik Vishaya Svayam Stita Kim Varnyate Dishtamato Vrajao Kasam. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births by practicing yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, none of which are easily performed. Yet in due course of time, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can we describe about the great fortune of the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, Vrindavan, with whom the Supreme Personality of God personally lived and who saw the Lord face to face? So here, we're seeing being described the great fortune of the residents of Vrindavan, that they're playing directly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shukadev Goswami is speaking, and he's speaking to Maharaj Parishik about how greatly fortunate these cowherd boys who were playing with Krishna, just like we were in the previous verse, it was saying, because they performed so many pious activities. Of course, we understand that there's different kinds of pious activities. There's pious activities which one performs for material benefits, which, one may perform some sacrifice to go to the heavenly planets. But this sort of pious activity there's also pious activities or pious credits that one gets when he performs devotional service. And there's also pious credit that one gets when he even performs devotional service unknowingly, which is when accumulates to such an extent, then one can begin to perform devotional service. So we understand that this pious activity that Srukadeva Goswami is referring to is those pious activities which are for devotional service. So this is important for us to realize this, the rarity of devotional service, because unless we understand the difficulty of self-realization, that generally it takes many lives until one realizes who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And unless we constantly remind ourselves that, then we have the tendency to take this process for granted is very much there, or to take these pastimes of Krishna very cheaply, as it's just because we have it easily accessible to us. So this tendency is always there, and we see many devotees may come, but after a while they don't really see the rarity of the opportunity that they have right in front of them. So unless we're constantly hearing and understand what is yoga, and therefore this is why all these different other yoga processes are described in the Bhagavad Gita, so that we understand that actually generally the path of self-realization is very difficult. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Manushanam sahaseshu kasya yatati sedaye yatatam api sedanam kasyam mam beti tattvataha. That many people are endeavoring for self-realizations. I'll give the exact translation because it's much better than Prabhupada's translation. Is that out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. And then we know the same chapter in this, Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavamam prapadyate vasudevam savarmiti samahatmasu duralabaha, that after many births and death, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes, and all that is such a great soul is very rare. So we have to actually constantly remind us of our great fortune we have to be here. That is inconceivable mercy to be able to be in this process of devotional service. It's the rarest fruit. Generally one has to perform many austerities to, become purified of all these, samskaras, to enjoy this material world and these tendencies to enjoy, and the mind being disturbed. One has to sit down, has to renounce the material world and restrict himself and perform this long practice of yoga. And still, of course, this verse is speaking of yogis who do this and have no touch of devotional service, because this is a bona fide process, just not in Kali Yuga. But without a touch of devotional service, it's useless. And this is what the point of this verse is mentioning. But really, it's to get us to understand, that this path of devotion and associating directly with the Lord is not an ordinary thing. These were not ordinary boys. They were playing, but they weren't just playing. They were playing with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were playing directly with Him. They were touching the Supreme Personality of God, who all the yogis are endeavoring and striving with so much intensity to achieve. And generally people would renounce their whole kingdom and go and perform austerities in the forest and live off of roots and fruits and completely try to control their mind and restrict the minds from any object of the senses to try to achieve this perfection, because this is the whole point of our existence, is to actually become free from this temporary entanglement that we happen to find ourselves in due to a bad choice of wanting to enjoy separately from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have to hear this again and again, because like I was mentioning, the tendency is to take this process for granted. We have all these books available, so easily available. Generally, to get a book, people had to, like, it was not that books were printed all the time and it were easily massively distributed like this. It was like maybe one temple had the one book and it had to be hand copied if you wanted it. But we have on our fingertips all the books of all the acharyas, and you would think that it'd be much easier because we have everything in our fingertips, but the tendency is to take things for granted. So we have to understand the rarity of this opportunity, and so that we can become more grateful and endeavor, because that same eagerness is required. Although we have all of these things right in front of us, still we require that same intense eagerness to surrender fully to Krishna and become self-realized is required. Whether, we don't have to perform all these austerities like the yogis, but still, that intense desire to want to understand who Krishna should be there. So we shouldn't be lazy. There's no room for laziness in self-realization. We should endeavor to try to understand very thoroughly, the different things that are spoken in the Bhagavatam, the different the things are spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is important for one who doesn't want to, leave any stone left unturned. We should really study this like law books, and clearly understand every aspect of devotional service, because to be in devotional service is our natural constitutional position of serving Krishna directly. This is the direct process, but we generally forget that. We think that we're doing this for something else, but actually when one achieves love of Godhead, he just continues serving Krishna. Right now we're serving Krishna in practice, and we're not realizing that actually we're serving Krishna directly by serving the deity, by being with Krishna with the holy name, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam, associating with devotees. So as we hear and we understand that this is actually non-different from Krishna, this is Krishna who comes in these different forms so that we can become purified, then we'll begin to appreciate devotional service more. And as we appreciate devotional service more, we lose our appreciation for anything else in this material world. We become detached naturally as one appreciates the process of devotional service, or it becomes attached to Krishna and desires to surrender more to Him. Then the natural byproduct of that is detachment from anything else that impedes that. No longer do we want to talk of anything not related to devotional service. We lose a taste for talking about nonsense. We want to hear Krishna's pastimes playing with the cowherd boys. We want to understand the processes of devotional service to the T. We don't want to be lazy anymore. We want to, completely do everything that's necessary so that we can perfect this very life. So, again and again, it's important for us to hear how difficult it is, because this process is easily given to us by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and the acharyas who have come and devotees who come. So after a while we think, we have everything is all around us, and the tendency is familiarity breeds contempt. We think, anyways, I get to do this again tomorrow, or we take it as something hackneyed. But if we fail to understand what is it that's right in front of us, then eventually what happens after some time is we think chanting is a burden. We think, once the spiritual master leaves or something, we think, well, anyways, I did so much service, maybe enough in this one life. I'm chanting, but, it's so much a burden. Why should I, chant, sincerely? All these different things, because we failed to really understand what is right in front of us. So we have to hear this again and again, and that's why Sukadeva Goswami is seeing. He's showing, wow, just see, they're playing directly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's just amazed. It's just infathomable. You can't even imagine the rarity of this opportunity that they're having, and the rarity of us even hearing this. This is, so much nonsense people are hearing nowadays. if you see what's going on, all over the media and YouTube, is nothing having nothing to do with Krishna. So devotees understand that and they relish this opportunity. Every page of Bhagavatam, every verse of Bhagavatam can be spoken on again and again. And the devotees, they don't get tired of hearing this. They want to keep hearing and understanding this from every angle of vision. They want to, we have so much writings of the previous acharyas. They've given us so much. And devotees aspires to hear as much as possible. So he doesn't want to waste any time in, by being lazy or not doing things properly in devotional service, because he wants to take full advantage of this great opportunity that, generally one doesn't get, it can take, millions of lives before, when it's in right here, he can perform so many austerities, and if he still will be unable to taste a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's like, it's not just something, mechanical, or we have to actually have this desire and attitude of giving and feeling that I have to give everything to Krishna. And I have to, surrender to him because, I want the genuine relationship, something real with the Supreme Personality of God, and not some hodgepodge, half-baked, Krishna conscious life. There's nothing separate for a devotee. It's not my Krishna conscious and my material life. There's no compromise with Maya for a devotee. A devotee, real devotional service begins from that platform. And one comes to the stage, when he's fully convinced that there's nothing else for me to do, that simply by performing devotional service, I get all perfection, everything I can ever want in my very existence is in devotional service. At that point, devotional service begins, and becomes convinced. How? By reading the scriptures and understanding every different angle of vision, all the different processes of yoga or self-realization of yoga. Everything this material world has to offer is simply nonsense, and will simply end in repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. And when one clearly understands that, then he will never glorify anything that's devoid of Krishna consciousness. He will never find anything interesting in this material world that is devoid of Krishna. He'll say, oh yeah, all these people, they're doing great, but where is Krishna? Where is Krishna amongst all this? So when one is at that point, then devotional service actually begins, because at that point he won't waste any more time. His mind won't budge from the idea of enjoying or the prospect of enjoying this material world, and he begins to get a taste, actually, because after Nishta, when one is fully convinced based on the Shastra, then one begins to get a taste for hearing about these different things. And he says, wow, see how rare these devotees of Krishna are, that they're playing directly with the same Supreme Lord who I'm worshipping and I'm endeavoring to have a relationship with. They're here playing with him. So, any questions or comments on this?
Very nice. Yes. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Generally, people in a civilized society, they aim for religious formulary, economic development, sense gratification, and then impersonal liberation. So none of those will bring one to love of God. The love of God, that is Prema Pumarta Mahan. That's Lord Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu's teaching. That the real goal of life, it's called the fifth Purushartha, is love of God. These other things, if they don't bring you love of God, and that's the point. You can be a yogi, you can be a jnani, you can be a karmi, but where's love of God there? You missed the point. Shrama eva hi kevalam is all a waste of time. When people would ask Srila Prabhupada, so what do you think about this religion? What do you think about that religion? He said, any religion that brings love of God, that's real religion. And the test is, you've performed religion all your life, how much love of God have you got? That's the test, whether your life was worth what, whether your religious, so-called religious activities, or actual real religious activities were real, were of any value. If you don't have love of God, and most people who practice religious formularies, love of God is something that's really hard to imagine, because they mostly think that God is impersonal. And the Gyanis and Yogis may think, I am God. So where's the love of God for that? They love themselves. And what is themselves? Either the body or the soul philosophically, but still they're not loving God, because I'm not God. Otherwise everyone could just love themselves, which is what the karmis do. But they mistake themselves as being the body. And the Gyanis and Yogis mistake themselves as being the super soul. So they're wrong also. And you don't have love if it's one. If everything's one, there's no love. Love requires at least two. So where's the love? That's a great question to ask someone if they say, what about this religion? What about that religion? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Any religion you follow, if it brings you to love of God, then that's perfect religion. So that definition goes across the board. Any religion that brings you love of God. But then there's a few questions, a few strings attached. Even if they say, I love God. Say, well, what do you mean by God? And how do you show your love for God? And what are the symptoms of one who loves God? And what are the symptoms of one who loves dog? What's the difference? I'm pampering my dog, I'm always thinking of my dog, I'm feeding my dog, I'm bathing my dog and dressing my dog. Where's the love of God? It sounds like more like the love of dog. I talk to my dog, I think about it, take pictures, put them on the internet. Dog, dog, dog. So, most people, as you quoted that verse from Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidhyati siddhe. Out of many thousands among men, what do most of those thousands of men and women think of as the goal of life?
Sex and
sense gratification, that's it. SG. Sense gratification all the way to the last second. And always keeping a hope against hope that the doctors and the scientists will come up with a cure just before I'm about to leave the body, and then I'll be able to live on and enjoy even more sense gratification. That's what most people think. Out of many thousands, it's hard to find one that doesn't think like that. How many do you know that don't think like that? Very few. And if they do, if they think, no, that's not the perfection of life, then what do they think is the perfection of life? That's a step up. I mean, that's merging, that's really advanced. That means they understand the soul. That means they understand eternality of the soul. That's a big step. So yeah. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Out of most of them, there's a verse by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, Karma koti eka jnani shrestha. That's the essence of it. Karma koti. Koti means 10 million. And karmi means the fruit of workers. In the midst of those, eka jnani shrestha, madhyam eka jnani. In the middle, if you find one jnani, he's more valuable than 10 million karmis. So that person who's talking about merging and he realizes his soul, you can stack up 10 million karmis who just want sense gratification. And he's equal, he's better than them. Eka Gyani Shrestha. And then out of those, how many of those have even a clue of love of God? Love of God is, the Gyanis are real far away from love of God. Because they think they are God. How can you love God if you think you are God? And not only God, but an impersonal God. Or what if you think everything is void? Where's the love of God there? So, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. They don't even know what perfection is. But one may endeavor in the right direction for perfection, and that means the Gyanis and the Yogis, that's why they're mentioned here. And the Tyagis, they're willing to undergo some austerities for a better existence. But out of many thousands of those, hardly one knows me in truth. Knows me. What to speak of love me. Even know that God is a person and that it's Krishna. Then there's a question of love. Therefore, it's a very systematic, scientific approach to completely reorganize society. Adho Shraddha Tata Sadhusanga, these processes by Srila Rupa Goswami nicely points out. Prema, the ultimate goal is prema, love of God. And Lord Chaitanya is giving love of God like easy. He's giving it out to everyone. Even if they can't pay the price. He gives it to them, all right, I came here, there's no one has the price, all right, I'll give it to him anyway. It's like he gives the example of a mercantile. Someone goes a long way and he's got his wares and no one can pay the price, so he thinks, should I carry it all the way back? Or should I just sell it for whatever I can get? All right, I'll just sell it, it's easier. So that's Lord Chaitanya, he's giving it out for whatever they can give. You can't get any easier than chanting Hare Krishna. That's the easiest process. This is Kali Yuga. What is that verse? In Kali Yuga, there's oceans of faults.
Kalo dosha.
Kalo, say it?
I don't know the verse. I just know the first one.
Kalo dosha nijay rajan hyastik eka mahan gunan kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. This age of Kali is an ocean of faults. There's one good quality, eka, one good guna, one good quality. And that one good quality is that simply by chanting the name of Krishna, one can achieve all perfection of liberation. So, as you very nicely pointed out, we should not forget how rare this opportunity is and what kind of a chance we have. And what happens if we blow it? Don't think it's... Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, don't take birth again. Finish your business in this lifetime. That should be our, as you very nicely pointed out, that should be our constant meditation. I have to finish my business in this lifetime. I don't want to come back again. If I do have to come back again, it should be under Krishna's wish, not my wish. Let me come back, and I didn't make it as a star in this lifetime, but next time I'll do it. I know what to do. I know the songs. I know how to play the instrument. I'll be ready to go. Or next life I'll go to the heavenly planets and those apsaras. I know what to do. I can live for thousands of years. I'll enjoy there. And it's practically millions of years when you take compared to Earth. So these desires, they bring you back to the material world, but Krishna's desire would only be to bring you here if it's the best thing for your devotional service. Thank you.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Any last questions or comments before? All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanirya Vaishnavyo namo namaha.